Welcome to this video on Sagittarius rising in love. I'm Cassandra of SaffronSage Astrology, and welcome to my channel. This video, we're going to go over Sagittarius rising, what you guys need in love based on your rising sign, the sign on your 5th house, and the sign on your 7th house. So let's get into the video. First of all, Sagittarius rising really do need to experience life. The way you meet the world is to experience it, to really go adventure. There's an adventurousness to the soul with this rising sign. And so that adventure could show up in the desire to travel, a bunch of other ways. But for love, the way this shows up is usually Sag risings, they have a few notches under their belt. Usually Sag risings want to explore all the different kinds of romance there can be, right? Explore life through, oftentimes, not always, Sag risings, they get some experience when they're younger because they just want to know what it's like with different people. They just want to be in relationships or even just, do a little bit of bed hopping when they're younger. That's not uncommon for this rising sign. Now, if that's not the case, then there can be other things in the chart mitigating that. Let's say you had Saturn on your ascendant. Let's say you have Saturn in relationship with Jupiter. That's going to really tone down that natural Sagittarius energy. There's other things that can cause this, but we're going to move on because that's too much for this general video. So then now looking at your 5th house, which you have Aries on the cusp of that 5th house. Number one, being a fire sign, fire signs need a sense of adventure. They need to move. They need to feel like they're going places, whether they are physically moving, whether they're traveling, whether they're learning something. You always got to be feeling like you're expanding with Jupiter on that rising sign, right? Always wanting to grow, always wanting to reach the next level. And so having Aries, another fire sign on that 5th house, this is part of why Sag risings do tend to get some relationship experience, or at least dating, having some fun when you're younger, especially because Aries has no patience. It wants to go first. So you may find that when you are into someone, Sag rising, you're just like on it, right? Because Aries, doesn't hesitate. So if you have no planets in that 5th house, having Aries on that 5th house means you're going to be more direct when it comes to flirting. You're going to be more direct usually when it comes to going after someone you want. And you're probably going to be more impatient, which means you're not going to want no Tauruses or no Virgos, especially like Mars and Taurus or Mars and Virgo, because they take forever to make a move. And Sag rising, I just don't see you guys having the patience for that. I feel like by the time they're ready to make a move, you're already on to the next adventure. And another thing about Aries being on that 5th house, Aries are cardinal fire. They are starters. They are start things. Sagittarius is mutable fire. So it goes on the adventure, then it adjusts. So this also explains why there is such a fleeting energy for Sag risings on relationships. Now, if you are a Sag rising who is married or who wants to be, do not take this as saying you can't do that. But if you've ever had times where you maybe didn't feel that way or gone through phases or whatever, just know that it's really natural with some of these, just the way the houses are in your chart, that you would feel like you want more experiences. It might be possible for some Sag risings to be happier in open relationships, or at least in relationships where you have the freedom to keep growing and keep expanding, keep going to the next level, if you know what I mean. So now let's look at the sign on your 7th house, which is Gemini. So Gemini is all about communication. So Sag, you could attract or be happy with partners who are curious and who want to sort of listen to you, because as a Sag rising, you're a natural storyteller. You naturally have a lot of experience, and there's stuff that you want to share with people. And so oftentimes you're going to want a partner who is curious enough to want to hear those stories, and mutable enough, because Gemini is also a mutable air sign, mutable enough that they're going to change with you when you want to go on an adventure. They might not be as naturally adventurous but they'll go with you on the adventure. Gemini has a curiosity. And so this is why Sag and Gemini can get along, because they both want to know more about life. They both want to experience it. They both want to feel different things. They both, mutable signs want to change and go with the flow and adjust to things and adapt, and they get bored. So that's the positive side here. The challenges you could find with Gemini on your descendant is attracting people who tell you just what they want to hear. This is like the shadow side of Gemini, and this is what Geminis get such a bad rap for, is being two-faced. But it's, with Gemini, there is this desire to tell the person exactly what they want to hear. There is a skill, if you will, an ability to do that. And not everyone uses their powers for good. So if you have been in the shadow of that descendant, you could have had partners who lied to you, who pretended to be one way when they were really a different way, who you found out later was lying behind your back, stuff like that. The light side, or the not shadow side of Gemini, is going to be people who have a way with words, people who are poets, who are communicators, who are writers, speakers, people who use language or words in any way to communicate in their job, or their chatterboxes, or they're naturally curious about life. They want to study life, those kind of things. Those are kind of some of the not negative sides of Gemini that you can attract. Now, this is another reason, though, why Sag rising, and I'm not trying to harp on you guys, but it's just facts, why Sag rising can sort of do a little bit of relationship hopping in their life, or just have more, not probably, most Sag risings are not going to just have one solid relationship and stay in it. They're going to want to get some experience. And another reason for this is wherever we have Gemini on our chart is where we want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's like, we're going to learn through the curiosity. So it's like Sag rising, you may find that you have totally different times in life, chapters of life with different relationships that are totally different. Like you have one partner over here for this much time who has all these qualities. And then, years later, you have this partner over here who's totally different. So you may find yourself going from one extreme to the other, or just having diversity in the kind of people. And that doesn't mean I don't mean ethnic diversity. I mean for one chapter of life, you meet someone who's hardworking, and the next chapter, you're the hardworking one and they're helping you. They're your assistant, and you have these two different experiences, right? So it could be diverse through ethnicity, but it could be diverse through any other way people can be different, any other spectrum you could judge a person on. You might date a skinny person, then a fat person. You might date someone who speaks English and then doesn't speak English. You might date someone who is like a cool person, and then someone who is like a dorky person. Okay, so totally different spectrums of any kind of spectrum you could imagine. So basically, Sag rising, you guys are going to have experience in relationship. And what you need, one of the things Sag rising needs is to be able to have someone who doesn't take away their freedom. Now, that's going to be really, really important, to be able to have the freedom to keep growing. That is essential for Sag risings. And then with Aries on that 5th house, you might want a partner who is a little bit more self-directed, independent, confident. You may find that you are the confident one when it comes to dating, again, and you'll go after the person. This also depends on where your Venus and Mars are. And now let's say you have, Gemini up in your 10th house, or sorry, Mercury, which rules Gemini, up in your 10th house. Well, this would be, really import the themes of work into your relationships. This could be you end up meeting someone at work, or the Gemini side of that 7th house shows up as they do writing for work, or they're a speaker for their work. People with 7th and 10th house connections usually will either do better in life when they have a relationship, or that work and love tend to be linked or interconnected somehow. Another way that could show up with 7th ruler in the 10th is you could have a partner at some point in your life who your role in life is as their husband or their wife or their partner. And then, we can look to where is Mars in your chart. This is going to change a few things, because Mars is important for everyone in terms of what they desire. but also for you, it rules your 5th house of sex, dating, and the fun side of relationship. So, if you have Mars up in let's say it's in your 8th house, well, that's going to bring much more intimacy, which will probably mitigate some of the tendency toward relationship hopping that I talked about earlier. Let's say you have Mars down in your 4th house. This will also do the same thing. So if you have Mercury or Mars in your 4th house or your 8th house, this will make you probably be a little bit more committed, a little bit more wanting stability than if they were in other places. So if you want to go further with that, you can book an Ideal Love profile with me. This is a 10-minute pre-recorded video that is unique to your chart that talks about all this kind of stuff, but goes even deeper. So click the link below to get yours, and I will see you all in the next video.